Okay, Jimmy, let's dive into an interesting topic to me is basically predicting trades or getting ideas around where to send people, right?
We love that on the show.
We love doing stuff like that. And that's one thing I do love. I'm not a big fantasy draft guy or a list guy, but I love trading people. He's a list and draft guy. I like to do hypotheticals around actual trades and movement. So,
yeah.
On Jimmy's solo show, if you go listen to that one, what was the name of that title of that one?
Out of Dame Time.
Out of Dame Time, as we're going to be talking about Dame Time. Go listen to that one. Jimmy kind of talks through how, which I loved your opening monologue. It's fantastic.
Thank you.
About players, people lying to you. I love it. It was a great monologue. Go listen to that.
Thank you.
And with that, we have Dame here basically saying that that whatever the report is that he's going to request a trade's a lie. That he doesn't believe he's not going to request a trade. But then he goes in and basically confirms that it's true by talking about the dysfunction and how he wants the operation. How he's conflicted.
Sense of urgency.
Can't sleep. Can't eat. He doesn't have taste or smell anymore because of it. It's all the stuff you get from relationships when people lie to you and say they want to be there and they really don't want to be there, or they want to be there and they really want to be there. Anyway, I'm trying to figure out now where exactly will Dame Lillard end up. I said this from jump. You can check some of the old videos and quote me on this. Dame's not going anywhere. He's not going to get traded. Portland's not going to send him out. But if I am wrong and he does get traded and sent out, he's not going where he wants to go. And since I know he's not going where he wants to go, because if I was Portland, I would not give him what he wants. He just signed a 5-year extension, 4-year extension, and he's got 3 years left. Why would I give you what you want without taking the best package for me? So we're going to talk about where we should send him. And Jimmy, you told me that you had some spots that you felt like were strongest candidates to take on our man Dame Dollar. What you got?
Well, and I came up with these in the sense of which organizations are going to be the most aggressive. And it's typically organizations who feel like a lot of teams could say we're a Dame away either from being in the playoffs. I think really any team could say that, but there are a few teams who could say we're a Dame away from actually winning a championship, which is the very thing that he wants.
Yeah.
This is what this is all about. He's already got his money. He wants to go somewhere where he can win a championship, and he's realizing that Portland's probably not going to be the place that he's going to be able to do that. And then I looked at it also from his perspective, combining his perspective with where I think he would want to go, just from my own intuition, as well as some of the rumors that have been kind of swimming around out there. And sometimes I include those rumors in news just in case one of them actually happens to be true. You can say you heard it here first.
Exactly.
So my number 3 spot, if I'm Dame, and I think this organization would be aggressive in coming to trade for me, is the 76ers. Because we already know, and we've already talked about that, most likely Ben Simmons is on the trading block and they are looking to shop him. And he is an all-star. He's 24, still a unicorn, has to learn to shoot the ball, period. But outside of that,
he's 24 years old.
He's got a lot of value. So I think that Philly, in a way, can fit Dame because Dame is a very tough player. I mean, where he grew up in Oakland, he's a really tough player. And Philadelphia is all about being tough. It's all about being knocked down and picking yourself up, just the ethos of Rocky and Creed and all that. So I think that it's a tough city for a tough player. I think he would fit there. They have an established coach. They have an MVP level big, and I think that they also have a good wing scorer in Tobias Harris. So a lot of the scoring load isn't going to be on him, or a lot of the defensive focus can't be on him, because if you focus too much on him, Embiid's going to kill you. You focus too much on Embiid, Dame's going to kill you, and Tobias Harris is as well. So I think that with Ben Simmons and including some picks and maybe a couple of other players could be aggressive enough in order to get him from Portland and bring him into Philadelphia and solve what you perceive as your Ben Simmons problem.
That's
so I'll
true.
say Sixers 3.
I like the Sixers pick. I'm there with you. They are a Dame away. If there's one team I can think of in the league, I believe they are that one. Especially because of Dame's range. Add him with the Tobias Harris, who gives you a big wing that maybe not the best at getting his own bucket, but can do enough in some games. He can have enough up games to help go with what Dame would provide. It will take a lot of pressure off of him too. Yeah. And then of course Joel Embiid, who does everything not only in the post but also can play out at the perimeter by knocking down treys. He shot damn near 40% from 3 this year, which is obscene for a big man that actually is a back to the goal type guy, which he is. That to me, you add Dame to that equation.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
The only problem with that is he gets over there and he's so happy, he's so elated. Now I can sleep. Now I'm with a contender. I got a coach that I believe in. And then he looks a few miles down the road and he sees Brooklyn. It's like, oh, yeah, I forgot about that. I got to deal with them.
Yeah.
And then he looks a few states north and he looks at the world champion Bucks like, damn, I got to deal with that for the next 2 to 3 seasons. So that is problematic. That's why they're number 3, a big part of the reason why. Number 2, Golden State, who a lot of the rumors thus far in terms of a landing spot has been Golden State. So really with Dame, why would he not, in a sense, want to walk the path of Kevin Durant and go and compete for rings with probably the 2 best shooters that we've ever seen, who play a fun style of basketball, who move the ball, whose owners, will get you what you need.
Yeah.
Brand new $1 billion arena, the Chase Center as well. And you already know they're a championship organization because they just got done being a dynasty, and with you, they could become that again. So, and you know this too, like let's say Dame does care about the situation that he leaves the organization in, you know that they can give them plenty. They got 2 players that they can give them, Wiggins and Wiseman, 2 W's, and the number 7 and the number 14 pick to use that to build around C.J. McCollum, who becomes your centerpiece. So you leave them in a good condition, not a good enough condition to beat you in the playoffs, but a good condition, and now you get Steph and Clay for the next 3 seasons and Draymond Green. So if I'm him, I'd love going to Golden State.
I hate the idea of him in Golden State just because of all that range shooting. It would make sense, especially if Clay comes back healthy or at least 50%. Well, I can imagine Clay coming back at about 70-something% because of his age.
You take that.
I would take that because mainly because Clay's game is all about spot up 3. So you get him just shooting. Oh yeah, that'd be fantastic.
Right.
So Dame facilitating. The only issue you run into is that him and Draymond. Dame would have to, in a way, change his game when Draymond's really out there with them to where he's more off the ball like Steph. Now, I could see both of them basically pulling a Rip Hamilton and just running around the damn court nonstop, catching it and just putting that bad boy up. That would be a very obscene situation. I think the only issue I see with that trade actually happening, even though the assets are there, is that the Trailblazers would trade within conference.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
That's my only hang up to that.
Yep.
But it's a good pick.
Okay. And I was really struggling with putting Golden State either 2 or 1. Can you guess who number 1 is?
East or West?
West.
Ain't nobody in the West that really got no at. The Denver Nuggets?
That is a problem. No, not Denver. The Los Angeles Lakers. Again, look at it through Dame's. I'm going to get to that, but look at it through Dame's perspective. All right. My 3 pick, the Sixers, he thinks to himself, I think we can win the title. Number 2, Warriors, he thinks to himself, we can win the title. Number 1 to the Lakers, we will win the title. Right? Again, from Dame's perspective. Because the obvious, yes, you get an Anthony Davis who's should have a chip on his shoulder with how unhealthy he was over this last season. You have a LeBron James who's nearing the end of his career. He's got probably 1 more championship in him. And you know that after he leaves, you're going to own the Lakers. You're going to own Los Angeles, which is a whole hell of a lot better to own than Portland. So I think if you give him that, I mean, hell, he hung with LeBron in the offseason. So you know these discussions did come up, even though now he's on an Olympic tour with Draymond Green and Steve Kerr. They're not stupid. They know he could go to the Lakers if he does end up getting traded or somewhere else. So they're working him over as well. But I think that in L.A., that probably gives him his best opportunity to win a championship because you can take LeBron and AD into a final series against the Brooklyn Nets Big Three, and most people would take that LA Lakers roster over them probably 8 times out of 10. So, yes, the problem is the Lakers don't have the kind of assets that the Warriors and the 76ers have because if you're the Lakers, what can you offer them? You don't have a draft because of Anthony Davis. Who do you have? Kyle Kuzma is inconsistent as he is, and Montrezl Harrell, who's on a 2-year contract. I don't know if it contains an opt-out to where he has
player option.
Okay, so you can't trade him.
Unless he opts in. If you don't opt in, you can't trade him.
So they have very little. We can offer you.
They have Contavious, Caldwell Pope, and Kyle Kuzma.
We'll give you KCP, Kuzma, and THT. That's it. That's the best we got.
Oh, and THT is an actual restricted free. Actually, I think he's either restricted or he's a free agent this summer. So I'm looking at their salaries right now. This is who they have on the contract for next season. Alfonso McKinney, player option.
Okay.
I mean, team option.
Never heard of him.
Mark Gasol, exactly. Kyle Kuzma.
Yeah.
Low out Dang, which his salary is still on there, but he's not on the team.
It's like a Bobby Bonilla type thing.
They've been owing him money. This is last year. He's on amnesty. Harrell has a player option. Tavius Caldwell Pope at $13 million. Anthony Davis, LeBron James. They have no one on that roster. They have no options whatsoever when it comes to it. So I'm gonna go to counter of your top three. I like that.
Sure.
I'm gonna counter those top three.
Okay.
With places that Dame would end up because he doesn't have an option.
So this is more realistic in terms of what the organization would do. Okay. So
this is organization. So you gave me the Dame.
Yes.
This is Dame. This is the organization.
All right, go for it.
All right, organization. Number 3 spot. 76ers. I do like, that's what I say, I like the idea of the 76ers mainly because of the Ben Simmons piece. He's still young, 24 years old. Add him with CJ McCollum. He's you a point guard who can help CJ just do his thing and get open. All you do is build and add additional pieces, add some shooters to the roster with CJ. CJ can be the lead, but at the same time, Ben Simmons still strong at facilitating and defense. Gives you that big guy you need to be able to help, hopefully get your team over the hump. The question you have to ask yourself is, with that, can you help Ben Simmons get at least a mid-range game? He doesn't have to be able to just shoot lights out, but be able to get some good floaters in on a consistent basis.
That's a good point.
You get his game there, I don't care about the threes. Give me the floater, he will be dangerous because we've watched him score 40 points before. Give me those floaters, he can do it again.
Okay.
All right, so that's 3. 2, Boston Celtics. Perfect opportunity for them to go ahead and snag them. Either they can trade Jaylen Brown, which is probably who they're end up trading. I've been mentioning this before. I think it's time to break up the band. But having the veteran leadership of a Dame Lillard over there with the Jason Tatum, I think they could build around that.
Which, I mean, they're on tour together, too. Jason Tatum is there, so that's right.
Exactly.
Okay.
And they can build a relationship, build a rapport. Tatum just needs someone to keep pushing him. I think Tatum is going to be at superstar level, but I think he needs that additional push because he's still young, still a kid. Most of those players on that roster are still young. I think that's the one thing they add. They add a point guard that's not always hurt. I think they can do it. And especially because Dame is a top-tier guard in this league, I think that he can make them go to the next level. That's probably Boston's best play. Okay. Number 1 on the list. Definitely not anybody in the West because it makes zero sense. There's only one team in the West. That's a correction. There's 2 teams in the West I think that would make sense for them to trade him to. Would have been the Warriors or the Denver Nuggets. Now been more of a swap for like Michael Porter Jr. I mean, that's a young wing who's starting to ascend.
But how does that work with Jamal Murray?
You move Jamal Murray to the 2. You just force him to go to the 2. Or you send Jamal Murray up there. Because, I mean, honestly, if you have Jokic and Dame, but Jokic is a point guard. I mean, he's more of a point guard for them, too. So there's a lot of things to play around with that. I'm thinking in my mind only stars of trading. I'm not going with the nuts and bolts of all the extra pieces or whatnot. I'm thinking stars or pieces that you could trade to make logical moves for a front office. But my number 1, it is the Knicks. Start looking at that young roster, Obi Toppin, that quickly you put together. If you can find a way to get Dame and keep RJ Barrett with Julius Randle, I think you might have a chance. I think RJ Barrett would be really good as a third option on that roster where he doesn't have to be as much of a volume shooter. He can just be more of a playmaker, a slasher, and then put up shots as Dame creates openings because you're going to have to double Dame at some points, especially the fact that Dame can pull up from the logo.
What do the Knicks have as far as assets?
Oh, they got all their draft picks.
So we'll just take their whole draft for the next decade.
There you go.
Okay.
And that's the other thing about some of the others. That same thing with Boston, which is they have a new GM, so I think this is now a possibility, is they can actually trade off draft picks for a change. They could have done that and got a player a long time ago. They could have had Paul George and probably won a championship. Paul George would have been great leading those young players. But yeah, I think that the Knicks have the assets to really just, I mean, like I said, dump your future, add 1 or 2 young players. Hell, send Kevin Knox over there. Some people are still high enough on him, but he's someone that they can feel like he's a project.
So the Knicks are kind of a sleeper.
I think. I mean, everybody's trying to get him to the Knicks, but it makes sense.
But that's only Knicks fans and Stephen A. Smith doing that, right? Because they've been trying to get Zion Williamson there.
They're trying to get
since he was in high school.
Zion wants to go there. He will go there.
That is true. That is true.
Zion will go there one day. If he gets the option, he's going there one day. But I do believe that the Knicks, if their front office can put together the right package of young players and draft picks, hell yeah. Portland has to pull the trigger on that. But I'm going to say this again as I wrap this up. Damian Lillard will not get traded from the Portland Trailblazers because it makes zero sense for Portland to trade him this year. Trade him with 1 year left on his contract. That's when you know that it's time to blow it up. But this year, stupid. Don't do it.
I think they're going to have to trade him because, like I said, they've got 3 weeks in order to prove to him that they can build a contender around him. They have no draft picks, and no free agent is going to go there. So at the end of this bronze medal run in Tokyo for the U.S. men's team, he's going to come back already pissed off, look at his roster on his phone, not that he's not going to know who was on it already, and see, oh, we're just the exact same team as last year, except we have Chauncey Billups as the coach. He's not going to come off the bench in order to play point guard for this team and help us out. So I'm ready to leave. Trade me.
Like, well, hey, you have fun sitting at home. We'll find you and make sure that you don't get a single check. If you're cool with that, we'll let you sit for a year, which protects their asset too.
I mean, but would they do that to the first or second best player in franchise history?
I would totally. Well, I'm not going to
do
trade
that, but
I
would
wouldn't
Portland
trade
do that?
I think the front office wouldn't trade him. Mm-hmm. Not because if he said I want to be traded, I'd look at him and be like,
but they can't have this standoff with him because you're a small market team. You have to finesse every single way to get free agents that you can. You're kind of in the exact same position as Oklahoma City, so you can't strong arm a star player like that who does not want to be there because you'll never get another star player.
They don't ever get star players. What are you talking about? The only way they get star players,
you draft a star player,
you draft him, and that's it.
He ends up in the same position as him.
Yep. You continue to cycle. What are you talking about? You just keep doing it over and over and over again. That's the thing. Portland gave him a chance because no one looked at Damian Lillard going into the draft. Did you know him at Weber State?
No.
Exactly. He gets drafted. He pops up there. He becomes a star, and you're like, hey, shoot. So they took care of him. They were the team that took on him that nobody else really wanted to at the time. So that's basically where the relationship comes in. But then when it doesn't work out, guess what they do? They just recycle it, just like they did with Clyde Drexler. They ended up trading him later on the end of his career, got him a championship, and then they just went through the cycle again.
That's a long time to wait, though, between the end of Clyde Drexler in Portland and the beginning of Damian.
Well, you got to
Lillard.
remember they were battling the Lakers.
That's true.
In the early 2000s.
One season after that, Sacramento was the one battling.
Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. Because they got Scottie Pippen when he was old and a bad back. So they
okay. All right, so that's the formula, just like they got Carmelo Anthony. All right. So let's get a bunch of draft picks. We're still going to trade Damian Lillard. Let's get a bunch of draft picks. One of them is going to pop by the 4th year of this. Then we're going to get another veteran free agent who's going to come in. And then maybe we start going Oklahoma City's route, get some international players in here who look at Portland like it's Hollywood. And then before you know it, we're in the championship. Problem solved. Year 12. Portland Trailblazers.
Year 12.
Yeah, 2033.
Year 12 of
Your
the cycle.
2033 NBA Finals champions, Portland Trailblazers.
2033. Damn, that would be horrible. All right.